This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 96 of Beers in the Lot. Well, as hockey fans, we finally made it. The Stanley Cup Final starts this week between the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we spent most of this episode talking about our thoughts about how the final will go, some predictions on how it will end up, and some other analysis. And make sure you stick around until the end, where I tell a story of a transgression in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, involving the rookie dinner at the Coney Island and whether or not Jonny actually completed it. So, you know what time it is. Let's crack those beers.
Danny, what are you drinking this evening?
So, I went a little hard last night. It was a little rough day today. So I got a light beer. It's a Maduro brown ale from Cigar City Brewing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Those are good. Yeah.
Yeah. Today has been rough, to say the least. Riggs, what are you drinking tonight?
Oh, it's so appropriate that Danny asked me this because I have a Danny Bro from Attaboy Beer in Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah, bro.
Yes. Danny Bro.
Drink local.
By the way,
Yeah,
I know Danny likes West Coast IPAs.
Yep.
Attaboy is known for their hazies, but their West Coast IPAs are some of the best Westies that I've ever had. Ever. So
Really?
yes.
I have to try some.
Yes. And John Walker, I think I saw, is this a fishing can?
Yeah, this is the Busch Latte fishing can. Limited edition, brewed for fishermen. And it's the largemouth bass on the front.
You should have worn some PFG.
Yeah, I know. Are you an angler?
I can be. I gotta get, I don't know. I'm sure I have something with a fishing hook in it one way or another. Let me look around.
We got to get you some of that pro fishing gear from Columbia.
Absolutely.
Well, there was like Danny. Didn't you wear like the Under Armour stuff the other week?
Yeah.
You were like double fishing. Yeah. You were double sponsored. Yeah.
That's right.
I have an Under Armour fishing hat.
Yeah. I think Yeti does stuff too, right? Like just apparel, obviously.
Yeah.
I think they do. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. I fancy myself more the golfer. Anyway, I follow the sport. I suck at it still, but whatever. One day.
Don't know many people who are actually good at golf.
Correct.
I know a lot of people who enjoy it thoroughly. Good. No. But yeah.
I resolved long ago that I don't have to be good at golf.
Like, I think it's a sport too, like different from hockey, obviously, where like if I was horrible at hockey or got to a point where like I was just bad, I'd hate it.
Yes.
I wouldn't hate watching it, obviously, but I would hate playing with it. But I would also, I think at that point, like I would move to a senior league, like something where I'm like at that pace,
Wait.
you know what I mean? Or something.
Wait, we're not in that already?
No. Mentally, sure, yeah. Mentally, totally. But like golf, like I don't consider myself horrible, but I'm not good either.
Yeah.
I'm in that range where like I could hit a few good shots around. I'm decent at putting and I can chip okay. It's like the rest of my game. If I actually like, I mean, goofy as it sounds, like when I was younger, I practiced hockey and did a lot of stuff to like get to a level. So if I probably did that, I would be a lot more efficient off the tee and in some of the fairway situations, but whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I decided that I don't have to be good at golf. So since I suck at it, I don't care.
yeah,
I just go and have a good time with my buddies and have some beers, be outside, listen to some tunes, It's a lot like being in the lot. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly. That's great. I agree.
Well, there are two teams that are not golfing.
Good segue.
Great segue, Eric. Spectacular.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Tampa, it's like an old hat for them at this point in Colorado, which I think I was looking at some stuff. Like, I think like 9 out of like 18 of the Sportsnet guys pick Colorado to either come out of the West or like be in the conference final anyway. That other slot, like a few people had Jets, some people had Vegas, like me. I put a flyer on the Jets to like win the Cup because they got really good odds and they need to make the playoffs. Same with Vegas too. But yeah, but Tampa and Colorado, and what? This is probably the best team Tampa's faced in the finals the last 3 years, obviously.
Yes. So as far as preseason predictions, Vegas had the odds makers had Colorado 1, Tampa 2 to win the Stanley Cup before the season started. So everything has shook out the way that it was supposed to, according to Vegas. So, you know, that's a thing. Yes, Tampa had to beat Montreal last year. They had to beat
Dallas
the year before. I don't even remember because who cares about Dallas?
Yeah, they didn't score any damn goals then either.
Neither did Montreal.
Freaking Fugazi team, yeah.
So, now they have to face the Avalanche. They have to face Big Mac, Lando, Kale Salad, all the big boppers as
Darren Helm.
Darren Helms, who I thought it was his kid playing. Yeah.
I know, that's the best part. We said that a few episodes ago. Like, he scored. I was like, wait, that Darren Helm? Like, that guy?
He's still in the league? Like, holy shit.
Agliano too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Agliano. Like, that team.
Eric Johnson and Jack Johnson.
Both Johnsons.
People forget.
Both Johnsons.
People forget. JJ is on that team.
Jack Johnson is now in the Stanley Cup Final. Yeah. With that boat anchor contract that he got thanks to Sid the Kid.
I think Penn still have another 2 years on the on the buyout.
So,
I always had that rule, like when they started the buyouts, I made like, and obviously this was like when I was in my early 20s, you know, you could imagine me as a town crier, like, if you're a GM and you're buying out your own contracts, you need to be fired. And Jim Rutherford signed him, and then 2 years later bought him out. And then he resigned like 2 years later after that. But whatever.
Weird.
But actually, Jack Johnson's like on that 5th or 6th pairing, and he does totally fine, which is one thing I said when he was in Pittsburgh. I'm like, if he is playing decreased minutes on like your penalty kill and going out there, you know, 5th or 6th guy, it's not a problem.
Right.
If JJ is in your top 4 or trying to anchor down your number 1 pairing, barring significant injuries, there could be problems.
No.
Colorado makes up for a lot of mistakes too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, their forward core does a lot in their own zone.
That roster is loaded. Yeah. So, where they're not strong is in the crease. Darcy Kemper's a serviceable number 1. Don't get me wrong. He is a legit starter in the league. I get it. Francois got him there. I get it.
Good numbers too.
I get it.
Think of the competition, yeah.
But Tampa Bay. So I was looking at, and I said it in the Discord channel yesterday that I wasn't going to put my prediction and analysis for the Stanley Cup Final in the Discord because, as we all know, if we say it on the recording, for the episode, then it comes true because we are the Illuminati. So
you got to stay tuned to this
yes,
space.
yes.
Correct. Exactly.
More to come. So
Yeah.
So I was looking at the numbers before work this morning, and what I noticed was everybody knows that Colorado is a possession team. They're high volume team. They are what some would call a high event team. So both directions. They have the puck a lot. They shoot the puck a lot. They also allow a lot the other way. Not so much that they can't overcome it because it's a very talented group, but it is what it is. Tampa Bay, in their own right, is also a possession-minded team, 5v5. However, they do not generate the volume that Colorado does. But what they do is is they capitalize on high danger chances. They actually capitalize on high danger chances at a higher rate than Colorado does, according to naturalstattrick.com, which is a great resource, by the way. Tampa is very good at getting to the middle of the ice, getting inside the slot area, getting up close and personal with opposition goaltenders, and scoring goals as a result. Colorado just beats you with sheer volume, sheer quantity of pucks on net and people at the net. Tampa picks their spots, and they're a little bit better at, that so-called 8 to 12 foot area around the net. So what does that mean? I think it's a wash. So now we have to look at the goaltenders themselves. Vasilevsky is obviously a better goaltender. Okay. He's probably the best goalie in the NHL for the last so many years. Probably the best one in the world, my opinion. Kemper can't match that. So it's going to be a battle of, can Colorado dominate 5v5 play, get their opportunities on the power play, and capitalize, versus Tampa taking advantage of the chances that they get and Vasilevsky winning games for them, I think.
I think 5v5 is going to be really important. Obviously, we know both special teams are really good. So let's just call it a wash. We don't know how that's going to shake out because power plays are fickle. Obviously, especially this time of year. If it goes cold for, 2 games and you only get, let's say, 2 or 3 power plays a game.
Yeah.
One team goes hot, one team goes cold. That's the difference in the series right there.
So you're saying, you're saying 5.
Well, I think 5v5 is very critical because Anthony Cirelli, when they actually matched him up against Zibanejad,
yes.
He had no more goals. They limited his chances. And Cirelli's line for the entire playoffs, I looked at it today, on 5v5, he's only allowed 4 goals the entire playoffs.
Right.
2 of those were against the Leafs. So outside of that, he's literally just had 1 goal in the rest of the series. And the only team that really, if you think about it, kind of exposed the Bolts was the Leafs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of frightening in a goofy way and
but think about that.
Annoying if you're a Leafs fan.
But think about Toronto and compare them to Colorado.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So the way I kind of look at it, if we're going to go 5v5 and let's say you go straight up, let's say you put Chiarelli's line against Mac's line straight up, Stammer's line with Kucherov and Plot, you match them against Rantanen's line. Okay. Let's say they're a wash straight up. Killorn has 0 goals for the entire postseason. Not good. The Ross Colton line, I actually like that line, but if we're they've scored a few. So the big thing then you talk about is that Nick Hagel and Nick Paul line, they've scored timely goals. They've done stuff, but the 3rd and 4th line for Colorado has actually done some shit too.
Yes.
So that's where it gets it's even as goofy as it sounds. It's such a coin flip. It really is. I think coaching coaching's going to play a factor. I do think Cooper's a better coach than Bednar, only because in the playoffs he's had to do stuff. I don't think Bednar has had to do a ton, but that could be a good thing for him. The team's kind of working its way through its own problems.
The Avs, if they get going, they could roll 4.
And they have no problem doing that. I think Bednar has no problem at all.
Coop has to do some work, right? He has to get matchups. It's especially since they don't have home ice advantage. They don't have last change. He's got to figure out how to get people on the ice and all this kind of stuff.
And I think Tampa's thing too, like they've started every series minus the Florida series. They've started off a little slow in each series. They lost 4-1 or 5-1 to the Leafs opening game. Then they tied it in game 2. They started off against the Rangers down 0-2.
So I think that the way that this goes, and this is the Monday before the Wednesday that everything starts. I think the way that this goes is if somehow Colorado is able to end it in 5 or 6 games, they win. If it goes to game 7, Tampa's experience and John Cooper's coaching genius, I mean, we stroke him all the time, but like he really is the best.
Yeah,
he really is the best coach. Like, if it goes to game 7, Tampa wins. If it doesn't, Colorado wins. You mentioned the Nick Paul and Colton line. I saw on Twitter today that Braden Point was skating with them today.
That frightens me.
And
if you're an Avs fan and he's skating with them, that would scare the Jesus out of me.
And so everything that I said would kind of go out the window if Braden Point plays.
And Kadri's supposed to come back, let's say, hypothetically, if we had to put a game on it from what everyone's saying, let's call it 4.
Kadri skated, but the picture that I saw, it looked like he wasn't in full gear and he was not stick handling. It was public session. It was free skate. There was no. His hand or wrist or thumb is all fucked up. So he's not playing.
We'll see. Can you imagine if he goes out there and just plays right-handed? Like he's like, oh, I can grip it with my other hand. I'm going to play right. That'd be great.
If you can't tell, I'm very excited for this final. I think this is going to be great. It's going to be a war. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good series as well. Both quick teams too.
Well, I kind of think too, like for the league, like you could sell, like if you're looking for like that media bump, kind of like McKinnon kind of made the joke about like, oh, it makes escrow go lower, so this is great because more eyes on it. You know, if I was the NHL, I get on this like immediately. Like you have that grizzled veteran team that makes little changes somehow, but always, you know, last 3 years has always figured it out. You got Stamkos, and Stamkos kind of like a few years ago, like after he broke his leg in Boston and then missed the Olympics, and then in that first cup run, he just played the one game, scored that awesome goal, and then he was out. Like, talk about a guy that like the last couple of years has had like almost like a renaissance. I'm happy for him. Like he's gonna finish his career. He's like at 482 for career goals. So 500 goals.
Yeah, easily.
And potentially 3 Stanley Cups to his name.
Yeah.
Like, good for him. Like that.
And oh, by the way, he is playing really well right now.
Spectacularly well. And the cool thing that I like is like when he started, he was like, I mean, first let's start. Barry Melrose healthy scratched him.
Well, there's a reason why he's on the awful ESPN broadcast anyway.
Correct. And we like Barry, but come on, man.
I like Barry 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So he was, 60 goal scorer, stud. Then he got hurt a bunch, and he's like came back as like this really great captain and leader, says the right things, plays the right way. Like he's down at both ends of the ice doing everything he needs. I like that. And it almost rubs off on the rest of the team too.
Yeah.
Like even though they have some high octane guys, they all play, and we're doing the hockey thing in air quotes, the right way.
Yeah.
But like they all, it's cliche and shit, but like, yeah, they do. And I think like Colorado, a little bit of that. Colorado, I would definitely say like a lot of those guys do the right things to help their team win. They have a lot of guys that'll just like buy in and do it. They may not like it, but they're going to do it.
I think in this playoffs, especially, you've seen Colorado's best players take that step towards the right way, right? Like,
yeah,
like you've seen, even though like Makar is running around and doing all these great things, he's also doing all the little things defensively, right? To me, like, okay, I would like to see Colorado finally get it. Like, I'd like to see McKinnon. Like, what I really want to see, selfishly, is I want to see McKinnon, the guy that's screaming at dudes for, eating the junk food in the room and all that.
I know.
I want to see him win the Stanley Cup and then go nuts. Because
I want to see him look like White Goodman at the end credits of Dodgeball.
Yes,
he just goes nuts.
I want to see that dude.
The bucket of fried chicken and like ice cream cartons everywhere.
Dude, I want to see him shotgunning beers and pouring 3 bottles of champagne into the cup and just going nuts because he finally got to where he was trying to get to. Like, that's so selfishly, like, yes, Colorado, like, let's go.
It would be kind of cool to like Tampa's figured out a way to make it all work under the cap. And I'm happy for them. And also, like, you hear it all the time, like, oh, there's no state income tax in Florida. All right, whatever. They have that benefit, yada yada. But Colorado has some cap issues upcoming.
Yes, they do.
So if they could just get it out of the way, and I'm not saying like it's one and done, because nothing's guaranteed, obviously, but man, if they could do it, and then like it would be interesting to see what McKinnon does for his next contract.
Right.
It would be very interesting to see. I'm not saying he's going to go anywhere else. I don't think he doesn't seem like that guy. I'm sure other players on that team like would have no problem cashing in, but he would be interesting. He'd be a good case study.
He's buddies with Crosby, right? They train together. He also looked up to him coming up, right? Yeah. So I think he looks to him as a role model still. And I think he would look at his career and say, you know what? Okay, I got my cup. I don't have the same contract structure that Sid got because I'm not, on that level yet. But I think he would look at it as that situation of, you know what, I'm going to stay with Colorado.
Take $1 million or $2 million less, hypothetically. Right,
because
maybe, I don't know.
Because Sid is probably underpaid.
Yeah, by $1 million or $2 million, because his contract's still 8.7 because he's a psychopath.
Right. Now,
but yeah,
you know what's funny about that, and this is kind of like going off the rails a little bit, but I saw this thing that no team that has had a player with a contract making $10 million a year has won the Stanley Cup.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, Ovechkin made. Oh no, because his last one was like 9 something.
AAV.
Yeah, he was making 9 something. You're right. His last one was 10. Yeah, but also like I hate saying it for Washington, and it does make sense. Like for what Ovi did for the franchise to essentially like bring it to prominence, they're gonna have that Gretzky goal chase.
And that's a big deal. That's a big
exactly.
deal. That's
a massive deal. So like, frankly, like it makes all the sense in the world. Where like I bet, and I don't think Ovechkin was overly greedy because that guy, he makes $1 billion over in Europe from all the nonsense he does over there, and all the other sponsorships. Like they could have literally given a blank check and go like, here, just fill it in, bud. Like whatever you want, just fill it in. Like Nick Backstrom negotiated his last contract himself, which is interesting because he did it because he didn't have an agent and kind of wanted to do it, which like I think is kind of cool because like that's the business guy in him as well.
Yeah,
that's intriguing.
It's that also he wanted to be there. He
wants to be the running mate as well. He wants to be that guy
there when it happens.
Yeah,
and it's funny. It's funny this came up because I had a game tonight before I got online with you guys, and we were actually. I'm sorry, I was having. Well, I had a few beers in the lot, and then I came here, and then the computer was not working. So, but but we were talking about this on the bench. I don't know how it came up. We were talking about like Washington situation and specifically Backstrom. And so he signs that deal, right? And it's like I think it's 5 years, so that because he was 1 year ahead of Ovechkin.
Yeah, now they're tied.
Right? So now they're
married,
like caught up. But he has the hip surgery and he comes back and he can't skate anymore. He looks like bad. And he was a guy that was never known as like a great skater either. Like he can move the puck.
Yeah, he was never a blazer or anything. He moved down the ice.
And now like I mean he looks bad. And so I think there's some questions about whether he can continue. I know that there was some stuff on social media about like, is he going to retire? Like what's going to happen now? But that whole thing's kind of interesting.
Well, he's actually really fortunate because he's an 87 birth year like myself. So because he signed that contract before his 35th birthday, he could retire, and it doesn't come under the over 35 deal. It goes under LTIR, which essentially means they'll do the same thing that Chris Pronger did, even though it's dog shit. Yes. And they will just say, "Oh, he's retired," air quotes, and like everybody knows it. They announce it in media, and then like it doesn't count. It's like total crap. It's like, why have the rules if we're going to openly break it? Like, this is a modern society. We have rules in a CBA.
We live in a society.
Yeah. That's what aggravated me actually about the Chris Pronger thing. Not because he was a Flyer at the time. It's like, if like you have a CBA that's signed by the owners and the players, subtract the players at it. If I was another owner, like, why are you letting Philly do that? Like, people complain every year because Arizona barely gets over the freaking basement. That team also, I saw they had their scouting meetings before the draft. They were taking like a private jet to Reno where they had it. I'm like, you scumbags can't even pay your tax bill. You're taking private jets to Reno? Oh, I was going to puke. I hate that organization. Like, they're quickly climbing up my leaderboard of like most hated organizations for the stuff they do. It's like those Instagram rappers, they like literally don't do anything, but then they'll go to the airport, sneak in and take pictures on the private jets and then leave, or like on a set. It's total garbage. Whatever. I'm on a tangent.
I wanted to circle back to like Tampa making the finals again. They were talking about the how they weren't under the cap or whatever. Like, was that last year? This is kind of like a big fuck you, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, like, look, we could do it.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I think I said it like they did it the bubble. They did it like the COVID shortened year.
Yes.
They do it in a full 82 season. That's like a big middle finger to everybody, I think.
Here's the thing about the whole cap argument and like, oh, Kucherov was on LTIR and like whatever. Like, look, fuck off with that shit. They were the only franchise that said the shit that Chicago did in 2010 or whatever it was.
It was 2014.
Whatever.
When they
it
won
was
the
the second one.
Yeah.
When
It was the second
when
one.
they
so
had
14 or 15, yeah.
they had Kane on
They came
on the LTIR,
and then they
and
got
they were like,
they got Antoine Vermette at the deadline, who was like $7 million, and Kane was like $9 million at the time.
and Tampa
and they were over.
Tampa was the only franchise that went to the meetings and was like, "Hey, we need to change this. We need to change this." They were the only ones.
Yep.
And what happened? The rest of the league was like, "Nope, we're not changing this."
We don't care. Yeah.
Then
out of sight, out of
then
mind.
when Tampa, when they take advantage of it, everybody loses their shit. Right? No. They're the one. They said,
Yep.
"You know what? The rule's bullshit. We should change it." Everybody else was like, "Nope, we're not changing it." And then Tampa took advantage of it a couple years later and won a cup or two.
The thing
Maybe
I hated
three.
about that whole thing too last year was like Dougie Hamilton when he was with Carolina. Him and like two other players were like, "Oh, well, they're over a cap." I'm like, "No, they beat your ass. That's your freaking problem. You're a little baby about it." And also I'm like, well, you're a player, so if they're spending more money, that impacts you. Like rising tide raises all ships. Like, shut up, Dougie Hamilton. That's why you got that massive contract in Jersey. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Yes.
I get aggravated more on the player side when they say stuff because I'm like, dude, it's a player thing. It benefits all you guys. It's one thing if an owner was like, "Oh, that's crap." Like, I would agree.
Yes.
Like an owner, I feel, or a general manager or a management team, they have, and I'm not saying it's a full gripe because those guys are like, they have to do medical reports and stuff. You can't like fake that. It's not the early 90s when guys were getting concussions and they like, I remember hearing the Matthew Barnaby story, like the last one he got before he retired when he was in Chicago or Dallas. He was blind in his left eye and he lied.
Mm-hmm.
He like couldn't see out of his left eye, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm ready to go." And like the only reason the trainer like pulled him back because he like hit the wall on his way out because he couldn't see it. If he saw the wall, he would have went back to the ice. So that's the thing. Like they still have to do all that. So it's kind of annoying that you hear players bring that up. Owners, I don't like owners. I'm more on the player side, obviously. We're a pro player podcast, but I understand why owners have a gripe about it because, how is that, like Toronto, for example, but
they don't.
You see
but they also
don't.
But they also
Yes,
don't because they didn't go for it. There was one team that said, "We got to fix this."
Well, yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
they didn't. So,
yeah,
the owners are bullshit too. Like it's,
yeah. Well, and Gary Bettman could have done something too. They could have went. Well, I'm saying they have a board of governors meeting 3 times a year. They could have adjusted it after last year, and they have not done a thing. Actually, board of governors again or this week, I think. And also too, like they got, I think between Paul and Hagel, they gave up like both. I don't remember what years, but like, I don't think they have a first round pick the next 2 years and no seconds because they have been like, you know what? We're going to go in all in again because we got the squad. We know it. I like that about that team. They're like, we're going to go in. I love it.
Remember what Stamkos and Cooper were saying after the second cup. This is our last ride. Like this, like, we're not all going to be together. Like this isn't going to happen again. But then, like, they're there.
Yeah, because it's funny because they lost like arguably one of their best lines. Of last year's run, which was Gord, Coleman, and Gaudreau. Gaudreau went to New York. Blake went to Calgary, and Yanni Gord got picked up by the Kraken. And then they just replace it with, Russ Colton moves up, and then they have Hagel and Paul, and Killorn played third. I mean, they kind of mix and match. I like that about Tampa too. They have no problem.
Well, they have a lot of guys.
They'll play with anybody.
They have a lot of guys that can move up and down the lineup, and they can play it.
Oh, without a doubt.
They can play different roles depending on what night it is, right? Like
Yeah.
So that's why they're so dangerous.
Yeah, so we haven't said it. So Eric put a prediction out. If it's
It's
if it's
I
5
know
games
it's
or less,
it's
it's Colorado.
no,
If it's
if
6 or 7,
no,
it's
it's
Tampa.
conditional. No, what I'm saying is if it's 6 or less, it's Colorado. If it's
All right.
if it's
Put a hard line on it now.
If
as we go around the table,
no, all right.
you gotta no condition. Just
No, but if it goes to Game 7, Colorado will not win. They won't because Tampa, like they have that mentality. Like they have that we're not going to lose this thing. So if it goes to 7, I don't care if Game 7 is in Denver. I don't give a shit. Tampa's going to win that game. So you have to beat them before it gets that far. So I'm saying if it's 6 or less, it's Colorado. If it goes to Game 7, Tampa wins.
all right. I'll give you an easy question. If it's split after the first 2 in Colorado, who do you like?
Tampa.
If it's 2-0 Colorado, okay.
Yeah.
I think Tampa.
Yeah.
I think Tampa in 7 only because I have an odd feeling about their depth, like in a good way. I like Chiarelli. I trust the goaltending and Cooper.
He's a fucking genius.
I just think like I like Bednar. I think he has the right thing, but like Colorado hasn't like been challenged. So what happens when like because there's going to be a situation in this series one way or another. It will be like a 2-1 game and Tampa is up or like trailing. And I'm sorry, but like Tampa in a 1-goal game, I trust. This isn't the Edmonton Oilers where you're up 3-1 and you come back and win it overtime. It's not that serious. It's not.
No, it's not. I have a problem with everyone saying that Colorado hasn't been tested. And it's not because they have been tested. It's because there was no team in the Western Conference that could test them.
Right. You just have to play the games in front of you. I get that.
If they're healthy, they are a juggernaut.
Like I said, the only team that beat them this year healthy was Vegas.
Yes.
And Vegas had no problem with them because they can skate with them. They have the goaltending and they're fine.
Yes.
Depth and up and down the lineup and defensively. Once they started getting injuries, it didn't matter.
Yeah, it was over.
So that's the thing. St. Louis did okay, but then the second St. Louis kind of got away from their initial game plan of like, really going to slow it down. We're going to grind them in front of their own net. And we're going to make it tough to go through the neutral zone. The second they started doing all the nonsense after the Kadri shit, they lost that series. It was over. Edmonton, I like McDavid and Draisaitl, but
that's all they have.
We kind of knew it was going to happen very quickly. And Nurse, for God's sakes, he had a busted hip flexor, and the guy's out there putting up 20 some minutes, which is amazing. He actually looked decent considering all. Like I was like, man, that's scary. But
then they had Mike Smith.
Yeah, gosh.
Ooh.
Well, actually, part of their goaltending solved itself. Koskinen signed and like,
yeah, I saw that he went to the Swiss league.
He went to the Swiss league. So it was funny. I saw that like this morning. Like it was like, oh, we've announced our 5th import, Mikko Koskinen, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and I heard something today like Mike Smith could go on LTIR, and same with Duncan Keith, where they retire. Yeah. So that's like $8 million. They're gonna save somehow.
Whoa.
They'll blow it. They'll give it all to Evander Kane, and nothing will happen. So whatever. But all right. So Tampa in 7. Rig says if it's 5 or less, it's Colorado.
Right, I'll say it right now. Colorado in 6.
Okay, that's
Colorado in 6.
That's bold of you. I'll
say
it. Daniel, where are you going?
Well, I like chaos, so Avs in 5.
Oh shit! Oh
shit, dog!
I love it.
We're gonna have to get a little Hezbollah meme of you.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome.
You know, I don't like Tampa. I like that they got rid of the Rangers though. So I'll give them one game. I'll give them one game.
Yeah. I wore a Slapshot Cup t-shirt tonight because after OFBG games last night, we learned a cold, hard truth that John.
That sounds like a show on like a news network.
That John.
The cold hard truth.
Well, I'm John Stossel right now.
Mm-hmm.
John Walker. John Walker has never eaten the onions on the 2 dogs and a sundowner at Coney Island luncheon in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
For shame.
Which, by the way, is a requirement of all rookies who attend the Slapshot Cup on Team Maryland that goes to Johnstown, Pennsylvania every year. And I
ate it.
I am very disappointed.
I think he has to eat a whole onion now.
I think when we go,
I don't like onions.
it doesn't matter if you like them or not.
Strong aversion to onions.
It doesn't matter if you like them or not. You order it as it comes. It's part of the experience. It
does. Wait, time out. You keep saying it as it comes. I asked for no onions, and it comes
no,
to me as that.
No,
like,
goddamn
so,
it!
Like I'm confused. You keep saying this like if it wasn't an option.
No,
I wouldn't.
It's
order
not
it,
an option.
Like
it's not an option. When you walk up to the counter, and you say, and the lady asks you, "What would you like?" and you say, "I want 2 dogs and a downer." And they go, "With everything?" And you say, "Yes."
I don't say yes.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
Please.
You broke the protocol.
I would.
You broke
right,
the rules.
So the other thing, you keep talking about this, as you are the moral compass of Coney Island.
I'm the captain of Coney Island. I was
he's
put
the
in
captain
charge.
of Coney.
Yeah,
I was put in charge.
Now. All right. I have sat next to you every Coney trip we have ever gone without onions. So you have been blind to this crime the entire time, but now you're crying out on it.
Well, you only have to eat it once.
I assumed, and that's my fault. You know what happens when
you're right.
You know what happens when you assume?
We know what happens.
It
when
makes
you
an ass out of you and me. So
that's right.
If I assumed that the first time that you went, you got 2 dogs and a downer, and you did not make any modifications to the order.
I will be 100% honest, though. The first time, I know for a fact I was too banged up to remember.
But you said last night. You admitted it last night.
I said there's no way I had onions.
Yes.
But I will admit, yes, I was too banged up to remember my first time there. But every time since, I know for a fact, no onions, please. And last year, we had a conversation on our podcast. I will pull the audio myself of how I looked at those onions, and we even said, those look like they turned.
But I still, I still had them.
Just like, I think I did myself a favor.
I still had them.
If anything,
I still had them.
I will. If I get like a plate of onion rings, does that like?
No. The order.
It's got to be it's got to be the soupy onions that they like scoop out and just.
The order is 2 dogs and a downer. 2 Coney Island chili dogs. It's hot dog from somebody's arm. It's like laying on somebody's arm.
Yeah.
And they put the mustard on, and then it goes in the bun, and then they put the chili sauce on, the Alpo, and then they put the then they put the onions on top. 2 of those, and a downer, a burger that comes out of a mop bucket, a fried egg, which by the way is the best part of the whole meal, Fried
Yeah,
egg.
the egg is actually like they like pop it.
Fried,
You see them like on the griddle. Mm.
fried egg with the mustard and the onions and the Alpo
Well,
on the downer.
I'm really fortunate though because I did read an article today in USA Today. There may be a severe onion shortage coming to Western PA later this
God,
year.
John.
That's what I read. I don't know. I'm thinking.
Yeah, you may be off
I
the
don't
hook.
All right, that does it for episode 96. Thanks so much for listening this week. Be sure to check out our social media accounts at Beers in the Lot, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're on it. That's where you can get all of John's latest memes, which we know everyone loves. And for any other information about Beers in the Lot, you can always reach out directly to us on our Discord server at beersinthelot.com/Discord or hit us up on our website at beersinthelot.com. That does it for this week. We'll catch you next time.